Hi, my name is Austin Riley.
And I'm Morgan Green, and you are listening to CJSW 90.9 FM as a Airwaves.
This program is dedicated
to the education and exploration of disabled life,
giving voice to the life and experience of people with disabilities.
We cover a wide array of issues and disabilities.
We are people who discuss issues we are passionate about
and topics we are interested in.
We show how disability is in the mind of the beholder.
Today we are talking to Shanelle Gilman, who's the Western Regional Coordinator at the Neil Squire Society.
The Neil Squire Society is a Canadian not-profit organization that empowers
people with disabilities through accessible technology, innovation, digital literacy, employment programs aiming for economic and social inclusion by developing assistive devices and providing tailored support for independence.
Welcome to the show, Shanelle. And how are you doing?
I'm great, and I'm so excited to be here today.
That's clear.
Awesome.
What is the creation story for the Neil Squire Society?
Neil Squire was a 21-year-old university student who was injured in a car accident back in the 1980s. He was attending the University of Victoria, and it's almost like you could say Neil was one of the first clients that we worked with. So Neil sustained a C1 brainstem injury, leaving him paralyzed from the neck down. So he was unable to move his arms, legs, unable to breathe independently or speak. Now, Neil had a relative and some dedicated professionals who worked with him to come up with a new type of assistive solution, which enabled him to speak through a computer. So thinking of what we call like a sip and puff. So if we think of a breath in and a breath out, that got translated to Morse code, which was able to give Neil a way to communicate independently again. And that's kind of how our organization started, with this idea after Neil passed. This group was formed to keep his name and keep improving the lives of people living with disabilities through the use of technology.
Wow. When was it formed? How has it evolved over the years?
Yeah, so like I said, Neil was back in the 1980s when we started working with him. And then over the years, we have become a national not-for-profit. So we are all across Canada. And our mission statement now is we use technology, knowledge, and passion to empower Canadians with disabilities.
Wow.
What programs and services do the Neil Squire Society offer?
So we have a few different programs at Neil Squire. And I always say it's great to visit the Neil Squire website because as much as we are all across Canada, there's also some provinces that have different programs and services as well. But some of our main ones that we have is our digital literacy. So this is supporting on how to use computers, iPads, tablets, and having maybe some one-on-one tutoring to help that. We have an employment program to help people who self-identify with a disability or barrier in finding a job. As well as we have assistive technology services. So these would be supports and maybe training on how to use a piece of assistive technology to help you at work or with school. And then we have the Makers Making Change program that I work with.
Wow. Can you tell us about Makers Making Change?
Yeah, so back in 2016, Makers Making Change entered a Google grant. And the idea for this program was how assistive technology can often carry a hefty price tag along with it for access. So our first solution was this idea of what other materials and supplies and different things can we utilize to help bring down the cost of assistive devices. So this flagship device that we had was a device called a lip sync. So I want you guys to think of a mouth-operated mouse. So if we all had a straw going to our mouth and we used our lips to move it up, down, side to side, imagine your cursor moving across your computer screen. Then, similar to Neil, that sip and puff technology, thinking that breath in, breath out, got kind of to be coded to be your right and your left click of your mouse. And so that was our first device, was this lip sync. And our other materials we were using was a 3D printed shell to help bring down the cost. And all of our devices are open source, meaning that we really work to build the instructions to help maybe have anyone learn how to build this device, as well as providing like the build list of where you could purchase all of the parts and materials if you wanted to build this for someone else in your community. So this was kind of the start of the Makers Making Change program, was building and delivering our lip sync device.
Wow. That was amazing.
Can you tell us about yourself, your role, and how long you've been with the organization?
Yeah, so currently my job title is I'm the Western Regional Coordinator for the Makers Making Change program. So what this really means is I help with device delivery, running events, working with clinicians and families for BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and the territories. But I've been with Neil Squire for over 9 years, and I've had a few different job titles over the year. I actually started as an assistive technology intern when I was in university, so it was a nice job for me to be able to do a part of my classes where I got to go in and learn about different software programs and how they can work and how I can maybe help others with learning how to use these. Things like Dragon Naturally Speaking, Zoom Text, different computer-based programs, and training on how to support individuals who are maybe learning these softwares for the first time for themselves.
What kind of device they use?
So the cool thing about this program is a lot of the devices on the Makers Making Change website come from someone in the community saying, I wish a device existed that could help me do fill in the blank. So that's the neat thing about how Makers exists, is it's not just us as staff kind of coming up with ideas, but really getting that support from community on what is needed for assistive devices that could possibly maybe be 3D printed or designed for a 3D printer.
That's amazing. I know what you are talking about there. The MRU have a new library you mentioned.
Yeah, the makerspace there.
Yes.
So that's the cool thing too, is all of our devices are open source. So that really means anyone can access our website and see a design file and be like, I think that this could maybe help myself or someone in my life. And if you have access to a 3D printer for a lot of our devices, you're able to grab the files and put them on your printer and print and deliver them to maybe, again, yourself or someone that you might know for an assistive device.
That's awesome.
What kind of tools, products, and technology does Makers Making Change create?
So there definitely can be a range. I would say there's a couple main things that you would see when you visit the Makers Making Change website. One big category we call is aids to daily living. So these are often devices that, it was something like, I need help opening my toothpaste cap in the morning, or I want to be able to do a craft hobby that I used to do independently. So it's very much taking an idea and being able to work through those designs that way. Another couple programs that we're really known for is our Hacking for the Holidays campaign. So that is something we just wrapped up in December. But this is an idea where we take a standard toy and we open it up and we see if we can make it accessible via adaptive switches. So some of the tools we're using is soldering irons, wire strippers, drills to put the holes for the external cables to sit. But by using that standard toy and making it just run a different way.
Can you walk us through the process of how an idea of an assisted device is made?
This is what I think is the coolest thing, is because there's no real clear process. Sometimes it's about knowledge sharing. So we might have a problem or an idea for an assistive device here, and that can get posted on the website. And someone might respond all the way in Florida being like, I had that same problem, and this is what a solution I came up with. So that is something we see on the website, is just a lot of people willing to connect, support, and share their ideas with one another. But for other times, sometimes it's about maybe modifying a device that exists already as well. So that would be taking our file, again, being able that it is open source, is that you can make these changes with it. So if you had something and you said, this is a little small for me, could we make it bigger, or could we make these changes? We can make those type of adaptations for the end user to have something that specifically works for them. And then that last stage is that maybe it's a totally new idea. So we have something on our website called design challenges. So this is where you would take that concept of that, I wish something existed that could help me with X, and post that idea out, because a lot of our work gets supported through volunteer makers, hobbyists, tinkers, people who are just wanting to maybe help and offer some of the skills that they have with coming up with new designs and new solutions.
How do you overcome challenges? Can you crave as an example?
Yeah, so for myself, as I mentioned, I started in a few different programs at Neil Squire. So when I learned about this job, 3D printing was totally new to me. So this was something that I really had to self-teach. But with that, I really got to recognize the support network that is out there to help you. So I was able to take like an error code on my 3D printer, different things, and not only put it out to our makers team, but almost to the 3D printing world on the internet, and being able to get that kind of support with walking through this. But I definitely would say it's that idea of taking that challenge and seeing who else out there could maybe be help, and who maybe has solved this problem already and is able to walk me through the solutions with it.
Do you have a favorite volunteer story or user story you like to share with us?
Sure. So as I mentioned, we just wrapped up our Hacking for the Holidays campaign this year. And I like to highlight this story because I think it's an amazing thing that we're able to do. So we fundraise money to be able to deliver 2,000 adapted toys and switches across Canada, or at least that was our goal. We can see that we delivered over 3,800 devices this past year. So I don't have one specific volunteer story because I got to work with thousands of volunteers in the last few months. But I think one of the coolest things is that for a lot of people, we often share that there's no experience necessary. We want to meet our volunteers where they're at. If this is us teaching them the first time to use wire strippers, or how to solder, or how to walk through these, it's that joys on everyone's faces when they get to press that switch or press that toy to be able to see that their hard work is working, and that kind of that big smile that everyone gets when they can see that success of the device, of that challenge for the first time and building something new.
Can you explain what the Calgary office does?
Yeah, so we have actually 4 staff from Neil Squire at the Calgary office. Funny enough, as my name is Shanelle, we have another Shanelle. So if you call the office, you might get one of us. So I work in the Makers Making Change program, as we mentioned. My other friend Shanelle, she works in our employment program. So that's the one that we mentioned about helping individuals who self-identify with a disability or barrier and looking for work. We also have my coworker Tyler on the Makers Making Change team. He is about running our accessible program gaming lead.
Oh, nice.
And then we have Tyrone, who is an assistive technology specialist.
Wow. What is her favorite device?
So one of my favorite devices, I think, really shows the process of how a design can evolve over time. So one of the first assistive devices that was kind of added at the beginning of the program was something that was called an adaptive nail clipper that would allow someone to press down on like the filament of the 3D printed device to be able to clip their nails independently. Now, when this started, it was a big print. It took a lot of time because you had to kind of build the device up. And so this device got adapted recently to be a nice smooth print that's skinnier. And when it comes off the print pad, it actually flips open to still hold the nail clippers. And the reason I think this is my favorite device is really its name. It's now called Flipper the Clipper because you'd flip it open and it clips your nails. So that was one of the ones that I thought was cool because this just shows how on our website, no device is ever finished. You could always take it and make modifications and make improvements and make changes that really, again, can work for an individual's needs and an individual's abilities.
Can you expand on the video gaming program?
I sure can. So there's a couple cool things with our accessible gaming program. One, that we have these things called game checkpoint centers across Canada. So these are locations where Tyler, who's our accessible gaming lead, would have gone in and done some training with staff who maybe work at the hospital, the rehab center, where these centers are set up, so that when an individual comes in that is wanting to learn about gaming, maybe get back into gaming, maybe they've always been in it, but they want to learn a new game, can kind of work through and almost trial different adaptive gaming to see what works with them. So here in Calgary, we have a little gaming center in our office, as well as at Foothills Hospital, that they have some training and support to help with this. So the biggest thing I say with adaptive gaming is that the very first thing is this idea of, well, what kind of game does someone want to play and what are their abilities? And can we take those two things together and try to get this ideal set up through that almost that trial and error process on where they would want the controls set up, what they maybe would want they mapped to be able to run and control in that game.
If someone needed assistive technology, how would they go about getting it?
Yeah, so the first thing that I would recommend is visiting the Makers Making Change website and creating an account. So once they do this, if they click into our assistive device library, they can explore all the devices that have ever been created and shared there. Right now, I think we're sitting around 200 assistive devices. So they might want to use the filters down the side to kind of get into categories, or they might just want to explore. So if they found a device that they're like, I think I want to try this, they can click into it and they're going to see a big button where it says like request this device. What that does then is it gets triggered out to our makers, our volunteer makers that we were talking about, and they could explore it and they could see if they have the skills and the tools to maybe take on that request and build it for the community member. So how our website works is cost of materials for the device. So if it's like a $3 print, that would be kind of the cost of device, as well as maybe the cost of shipping of how to get it to the end user. So that is probably the main way to be able to put in requests for assistive devices. Now, sometimes, again, if we aren't seeing the device that we needed, this is where they would click that submit that design challenge idea of, I don't see the device I'm looking for. Does anyone have something that could maybe help me do X? And they'd kind of submit that idea of what they're looking for, with the hope that one of our volunteers or the community members would maybe be able to come up with that adaptive solution.
Well, I have a device too as well. I would say my phone have one of those apps. It is called Touchtrack. Do you do that too?
We don't do a lot with apps ourselves. We're more with like the physical devices outside. Okay. But one of the things that we do that kind of works with an app is for users who maybe use adaptive communication tools. So they might have the app on their tablets or different things. Where we get involved is building like the key guard or the tools that helps to separate your little line items, right? So that your finger doesn't slip to press different buttons. Okay. So it's like we're the physical things that can maybe go on top of those tools that maybe people are using already.
Yeah, like me. Like toes set. I use that for my talking.
Oh, cool.
Yes. What is your favorite part about her job?
So recently, over the past few years, we have had government funding to really do a focus on youth-based STEM events. So what this has allowed is opportunities to go into schools, after-school clubs, robotics programs, youth groups, a bunch of different areas, and teaching students who have different levels of skills. So this might be the first time they've ever, like I said, seen a wire strippers and soldering irons, or maybe they're more advanced and they're able to take on some more challenging designs. But we get to go into these programs and talk about our organization, talk about assistive technology, and we almost like to call it like making with for good or building with a purpose. Is this idea rather than them making something that they take home and show their parents and it might sit on the mantle or maybe get pushed in the garbage, is that these students are building a piece of assistive technology that then can be donated out into the community. So we really talk about the purpose of what they're making. So again, you get to see those smiles and get to see their face light up with all these devices as they press to make sure they're working. But we really get to highlight how these devices are going out into the community. And I think that's been a really neat thing that we've gotten to do over the last few years.
Definitely. I like do making slaves. Kind of person. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
How can our listeners get involved?
Sure. So if you visit our Makers Making Change website, you'll be able to see a few different things. One, our assistive devices library. This is where anyone can explore, again, seeing if there's something that they want to print for someone that they know in their own life. And you can grab that STL file and become your maker yourself. If you have access to a 3D printer or you know someone who does, you can grab it and print and deliver a device. To me, that's a great way to start with getting involved. Another unique program we have right now is our Clubs That Care program. So anyone between the ages of 15 and 30 can go to our website and complete an application to become a club leader. What this is an opportunity to apply for a $3,000 microgrant to help us in supporting the work that we're doing across Canada. So they could use this money to buy their 3D printer, buy their soldering iron, all of the tools. The goal of this program is that they're going to engage 10 community volunteers, so friends or family in the community, and build and deliver 20 assistive devices. So this is something that we're able to offer, and we're going to be doing for another whole year with funding through the government.
Wow.
Can you share your social media and website?
For sure. So our website is makersmakingchange.com, and you can find us on Instagram, at Facebook, using the same handle, at makersmakingchange.com. Another unique spot you can kind of check out some of our work is if you visit YouTube and our Neil Squire organization, you can watch some examples of what our builds look like, and different things about how to get involved on our website as well, too.
Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners?
So I'm always happy to meet or talk with anyone. So if anyone has questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us. I also am always happy to have visitors if someone ever wants to pop by the Calgary office and maybe see some of our adaptive tools, check out our accessible gaming program and what that space can look like. But I think the biggest thing is that no question is too small, and I'm always here to chat.
Thank you so much for doing us today. Shanelle.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It has been a pleasure chatting with you. You have been listening to Accessible Airwaves on CGSW 90.9 FM.